Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you love these videos, please do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily with new watches every 24 hours. If you love this watch, see it and purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing a very special watch on the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Chronograph 2017. Audemars Piguet launched this, the Royal Oak Chronograph 26331IP, which is AP speak for titanium and platinum, a 500-piece limited series exclusively for AP boutiques and premier dealers. It combines that platinum bezel, platinum intermediate links, and a titanium case and bracelet majors, a watch that altogether weighs about as much as the stainless steel band and timepiece on the wrist. It's 41 millimeters in diameter, and it features all of the refinements of the redesigned 2017 Royal Oak Chronograph. Now you can see on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, the 41, since its launch in 2012, has worn like a baby offshore. It's still slim, it's still svelte, no doubt there, 11 millimeters thick for an automatic chronograph, but the timepiece is broad. 41 millimeters across the round of the case does not include crown guards, or chronograph pushers, and from lug to lug the watch spans 51.7 millimeters. Now, if you include the outcropping of these platinum intermediate plots, which cannot be pulled straight down, that's as narrow as you can make it, then the watch is a burly 54.5 millimeters across the wrist, meaning it has substantial presence, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for a wrist smaller than 14.5 centimeters circumference. Think baby offshore more than Royal Oak. The timepiece is imposing, however, and you get that for which you have paid, which is to say a finely finished watch that looks and feels substantial. Now, everything you see here that's of high polish is platinum, and that includes the intermediate links down the center of the bracelet. You'll also appreciate that the full polished cap to the bezel, an unusual aesthetic for any Royal Oak, denotes a full platinum bezel structure. Getting a little bit closer and examining the bracelet in detail, you can see that the finish here is exactly as we've expected since the first models in 1972. That hairline bevel that flares from the mid-case continues perfectly aligned down the shoulders of the links. There's a handsome and judicious blend of satin and high polish, and you can see the high polish of those intermediate links extends not just across their faces, but also underneath their rounded flanks. You can actually see them as you articulate the bracelet polished on their flanks. There's plenty of gapping underneath to avoid pinching skin. As you can see, AP's excellent with its bracelet's ergonomics, and there's even a little bit of a venting to avoid trapping heat. The bracelet is sized with screws, no pin sleeves here, and then you have a rather substantial deploying clasp that AP has been using on the Royal Oaks for a while, and satin finished and blasted internally. It's handsomely executed. It is a sequential shut, so you do have to close one after the other, but twin trigger release and very substantial swing arms and chassis give you the impression that this component is suited to an offshore, and yes, platinum AP logo on the bottom. Now, getting back to the case, you can see that it is handsome and it is more delicate in its profile than an offshore. An offshore is brutish. A standard Royal Oak is elegant, and that's a key distinction because you can see that it's narrow along its case band, with the bezel gasket expressed as just a tiny sliver underneath the bezel. On the offshore, it would be a big chunky component of the lateral case. You can also see that the lines from the bezel continue perfectly into the bezel flank, the mid-case, and the case back. Screws used to fix the bracelet to the case, quite secure. That's how every watch should be made. Some changes for 2017, a little bit of an alteration of the crown guard structure, but more significantly, you now have chronograph pushers that have the shoulder protection and shear guards of the old screw downs. You can actually access them at any time. You don't need to unscrew them or screw them down. The watch is still 50 meters water resistant, so you get the burly look of a screw down and a little bit of the protection without the encumbrance of a screw down structure. Now let's turn this all around and appreciate the dial and the bezel. Bezel, of course, white gold bolts, and you can really get a good sense of the difference in color and tone between white platinum and white gold. As you can see, the bolts themselves in white gold do have a little bit more of a yellowish, almost honey hue compared to platinum. You wouldn't notice it unless the two were literally juxtaposed in immediate proximity, and that's what you have here. Normally a Royal Oak bezel, satin on its top, polished on its flanks, but here entirely black polished, and it's sensational. The dial uses a a gray with a sort of ruthenium metallic tone. The tapisserie still cut on a pantograph lathe, but since 2012 it has been made by AP with its own pantograph lathes rather than its stern frere. All white gold hands, white gold register chapter rings, register hands, register indices, monotone date disc in gray to match the dial base, white gold AP logo. If you do look at the center registers for the constant seconds and the chronograph hours and minutes, you can see that one of the 2017 changes, just like the changes to the pusher, has been the increase in the size of the chronograph hour and minute registers and the minimized seconds display at 6 o'clock. It's been shrunken to allow the others to grow in size and prominence and legibility. Another change, though a subtle one, is the increase in the size of the white gold indices for the hours and an increase in the amount of superluminova used. Now, if you look at the blue of the registers, you can see it's a remarkably blue hue, almost a metallic navy. It is darker than the blue used on the steel and rose gold versions of the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak and Royal Oak Chronograph. Screw-down crown in the hexagonal shape of the recessed bezel bolt, and then underneath the case back, Audemars Piguet. And you can see it is indeed titanium and platinum, but Audemars Piguet caliber 2385. What it is a Piguet 1185 automatic 40-hour power reserve, quickset date, vertical clutch, column wheel chronograph for smooth actuation, and you can leave the chronograph running if you're of the opinion that center seconds are easier to read than sub-seconds. The vertical clutch means not only does this system engage smoothly, but you can leave it running with no additional hazard to the movement. 37 joules, high horology finish, 5-position adjustment like a chronometer. The column wheel and vertical clutch set the standard for the industry when this movement debuted in 1980, later copied by just about everyone from Jaeger-LeCoultre to Rolex in crafting next-generation chronographs. This one is still a champion. 3 Hz beat rate, and again, nicely hand-finished, though only your Audemars Piguet watchmaker will know. This is a high horology watch inside and out. See it and make it yours on the watch box. Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Chronograph. More lume for 2017, and it shows.